You've done it today, probably more than once. You might even do it right now just because I'm talking about it. Yawning, that long, involuntary, wide-open stretch of your jaw that you couldn't stop even if you tried. But here's the strange part. Nobody truly knows why we do it. And even stranger, why is it so absurdly contagious? What if I told you that the leading theory involves cooling your brain like a radiator, and that the contagious part might be one of the earliest forms of human empathy?
Okay, I need to be honest. I just yawned reading that, which is exactly your point, isn't it? But what do you mean nobody knows why? We yawn when we're tired. That's the answer, isn't it?
That's what everyone thinks, but it doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Yes, we yawn when we're tired, but we also yawn when we wake up, we yawn when we're bored, we yawn before athletes compete in the Olympics. We yawn when we're nervous. Babies yawn in the womb. 11-week-old fetuses have been caught yawning on ultrasound scans. If yawning was simply about being tired, none of those situations make sense.
Wait, babies yawn in the womb at 11 weeks? They're not tired, they're not bored, they're not even breathing air yet. What could possibly trigger a yawn at that stage?
That's one of the great mysteries. The fact that fetuses yawn suggests it's a deeply hardwired behavior, something so fundamental to our biology that it develops before most other reflexes. It's not learned, it's not cultural. It's built into our operating system from the very beginning.
So what's the prevailing theory? If it's not about tiredness, what is yawning actually for?
For centuries, the most popular theory was the oxygen theory. The idea was that when you're tired or in a stuffy room, your blood oxygen levels drop, and a yawn is your body's way of taking in a big gulp of air to boost oxygen levels. It sounds perfectly logical.
It does. A big breath to get more oxygen. That makes total sense.
Except it was tested and debunked. In the 1980s, researcher Robert Provine conducted experiments where he gave subjects extra oxygen or placed them in rooms with elevated carbon dioxide levels. If the oxygen theory was correct, more oxygen should reduce yawning, and more carbon dioxide should increase it.
And?
Neither made any difference whatsoever. People yawned the same amount regardless of oxygen or carbon dioxide levels. The oxygen theory, which had been accepted for centuries, was essentially demolished in a single study.
Wow. So the most obvious explanation was completely wrong. What replaced it?
This is where it gets really interesting. In 2007, a researcher named Andrew Gallup proposed the thermoregulatory theory, the idea that yawning is actually your body's mechanism for cooling your brain.
Cooling your brain like a biological radiator?
Exactly like that. Your brain is the most metabolically active organ in your body. It generates a lot of heat, and it functions best within a very narrow temperature range. When your brain starts to overheat, even slightly, its performance drops. You become less alert, less focused, more sluggish.
Which is exactly how you feel when you're about to yawn. Tired, unfocused, a bit foggy.
Precisely. Gallup's theory is that your yawn is your body's attempt to cool the brain back down to its optimal temperature. When you yawn, you take in a huge rush of cool air through your mouth and nasal passages. At the same time, the stretching of your jaw increases blood flow to the face and neck. The cool air and increased blood circulation work together to lower the temperature of the blood flowing to your brain.
That's fascinating. So it's not about oxygen at all. It's about temperature regulation. But is there evidence for this?
Quite a bit, actually. Gallup conducted experiments where he asked people to hold warm packs or cold packs against their foreheads. The people with warm packs on their heads yawned significantly more than those with cold packs. He also found that people yawn more in summer than in winter, but only when the outside temperature is below body temperature. When it's extremely hot outside, above 37 degrees, yawning actually decreases because inhaling hot air wouldn't cool your brain.
That's clever. So your body is smart enough to know when yawning would actually help and when it wouldn't. When the air is cooler than your body, yawn away, free cooling. When the air is hotter than your body, yawning would make things worse, so the urge decreases.
Exactly, and this also explains the fetus question. Brain development in the womb generates tremendous heat in that tiny skull. Yawning movements, even without breathing air, could help regulate blood flow and temperature in the developing brain. It's the brain's cooling system activating long before birth.
That's a really elegant explanation. It ties together all those contradictory situations. Why we yawn when tired, when waking up, when nervous. The brain heats up in all those situations.
When you're tired, your brain's temperature regulation is less efficient. When you wake up, your brain is ramping up activity and generating more heat. When you're nervous or stressed, your brain is working overtime processing threat signals. In every case, the brain needs cooling, and the yawn delivers it.
Okay, I'm convinced on the why. But now I need to know about the contagious part, because I genuinely yawned earlier just when hearing you talk about yawning. And I know I'm not the only one. Anyone listening to this has probably yawned at least once by now.
They almost certainly have. And this is where the story takes a turn from physiology into psychology and neuroscience. Contagious yawning is one of the most reliable and bizarre phenomena in human behavior. You see someone yawn, you yawn. You hear someone yawn, you yawn. You read about yawning, you yawn. You even yawn if you just think about yawning hard enough.
It's happening to me right now, multiple times. It's almost annoying how automatic it is.
And here's the thing. Not all yawning is contagious. Spontaneous yawning, the kind triggered by tiredness or temperature, happens in almost all vertebrates. Fish yawn, snakes yawn, birds yawn. But contagious yawning, catching a yawn from someone else, is incredibly rare in the animal kingdom. Only a handful of species do it.
Which species?
Humans, chimpanzees, bonobos, wolves, domestic dogs, and possibly elephants. Notice anything those species have in common?
They're all highly social animals that live in groups with complex social bonds.
Exactly. And that's the key clue. Contagious yawning isn't a physiological reflex like spontaneous yawning. It's a social phenomenon. And the leading explanation is that it's linked to empathy.
Empathy? So when I catch your yawn, I'm actually empathizing with you?
That's a theory, and there's strong evidence for it. Studies have shown that people who score higher on empathy tests are more susceptible to contagious yawning. People with conditions that affect social cognition and empathy, such as certain forms of autism or psychopathy, show significantly reduced contagious yawning.
That's incredible. So the urge to yawn when someone else yawns is actually your brain's way of unconsciously mirroring their internal state. You're literally feeling what they're feeling.
And it goes even deeper. Brain imaging studies have shown that when you see someone yawn, the mirror neuron system in your brain activates. Mirror neurons are the cells that fire both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing the same action. They're thought to be the neurological foundation of empathy, the brain's mechanism for understanding other people's experiences by simulating them internally.
So mirror neurons see someone yawn, simulate the yawn internally, and that simulation triggers an actual yawn in your body. It's like your brain runs a little empathy program that accidentally triggers the physical response.
That's a perfect description, and here's something fascinating. Contagious yawning is stronger between people who are emotionally close. You're more likely to catch a yawn from a family member than from a friend, more likely from a friend than from an acquaintance, and more likely from an acquaintance than from a stranger.
So the strength of the yawn contagion maps directly onto the strength of the emotional bond. That's remarkable. It's like a hidden measure of how connected you feel to someone.
Some researchers have even suggested it could be used as a rough diagnostic tool for empathy. Not a definitive test, but an indicator. If someone never catches yawns from the people close to them, it might suggest something about their empathic processing.
That raises an interesting question. When does contagious yawning develop in children? Are babies susceptible?
Great question. Babies yawn spontaneously from before birth, as we discussed. But contagious yawning doesn't appear until around age 4 or 5. And this is significant because that's roughly the same age when children develop what psychologists call theory of mind, the ability to understand that other people have thoughts, feelings, and perspectives different from your own.
So contagious yawning switches on at the same time as empathy develops. That really strengthens the connection between the two.
It does, and it suggests that contagious yawning isn't just a random quirk. It's a marker of social cognitive development. It's a sign that a child's brain has matured enough to start modeling other people's internal state.
But there's something else I want to ask about: dogs. You mentioned dogs catch contagious yawns. I've definitely noticed my dog yawn when I yawn. Is that real?
It's absolutely real, and it's been studied extensively. Research from the University of Tokyo show that dogs are significantly more likely to yawn when their owner yawns when compared to when a stranger yawns. Just like humans, the contagion is stronger with closer social bond.
So my dog is empathizing with me when it catches my yawn. Dogs genuinely feel empathy for their owners?
That's what the research suggests. Dogs are one of the only non-primate species to show contagious yawning, and the fact that it's stronger with their owners and with strangers indicates it's not just a reflexive response. It's socially modulated. Your dog isn't just copying you, it's connecting with you.
I'm going to go home tonight and deliberately yawn at my dog to test this. But let me ask you this. Is there an evolutionary reason why contagious yawning would have developed? What benefit does it give a social group?
There are two main theories. The first is the synchronization theory. In a group of early humans, if one person yawns because they're getting tired and their alertness is dropping, a contagious yawn spreading through the group would synchronize a group's state of alertness. Everyone would cool their brays at the same time, become more alert at the same time, and the group as a whole would be better prepared, whether that meant staying vigilant against predators or coordinating a transition from activity to rest.
A group-wide brain reset. That makes a lot of sense from a survival perspective.
The second theory is the vigilance theory. If a yawn is a signal that someone's alertness is dropping, then contagious yawning could serve as an unconscious alarm system. One person's yawn tells the rest of the group, "My guard is slipping." The contagious response ensures everyone else boosts their own alertness to compensate.
So it's either let's all rest together or someone's flagging, everyone else stay sharp. Either way, the group benefits.
And both theories explain why contagious yawning is only found in highly social species. Solitary animals have no need to synchronize their alertness with others. It's only when you live in a group, depend on each other for survival, and need to coordinate behavior that contagious yawning becomes useful.
This has completely changed how I think about yawning. It's not a sign of boredom or rudeness. It's a brain cooling mechanism that doubles as a social bonding signal rooted in empathy and group survival. That's extraordinary for something we dismiss as meaningless.
And that's the hidden why. The next time you catch a yawn from someone, don't be embarrassed. Your brain is doing exactly what millions of years of evolution designed it to do: cooling itself down, connecting with the people around you, and keeping the group synchronized. It's one of the oldest, most sophisticated social signals humans possess, and it happens completely beneath your awareness.
I've yawned about 15 times during this episode, and I'm now genuinely proud of every single one. What an incredible story.
And that's all for today on the why behind everything. Thank you for listening.
Next time, we're exploring one of the strangest habits in the English language. Why do we say okay? It's the most widely understood word on the planet, used in virtually every language. But where did it come from? The answer involves a 19th century newspaper joke that accidentally became the most successful word ever invented.
You won't want to miss it. Make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.